City of the Wolves has just released and I've been having a blast, especially with Billy Kane. And I've actually learned a ton about how to play the character through my experience playing him these past few weeks. So today we're going to be looking at 10 tips to help you improve with Billy Kane. But before we get into the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons to let me know that you like content like this and that I should make more of it in the future. But with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Alright, so tip number one I'd say is to know your anti-airs. And this is probably the most important tip because one, it's like a fundamental in fighting games, but two, his anti-airs are kind of committal. Because you see how much whiff recovery that has? That's his universal anti-air. And you can see if you cross up here, and I try to anti-air, he has a lot of recovery. So I would say practice your anti-airs, practice your spacing as well. And this is probably the most important tip, to be honest. Just make sure that you know what button to use at the right time. I think universal anti-air is probably the most consistent option, to be honest, because if you try to do 2M like that, sometimes you get stuffed if you're too late. A lot of the time you get stuffed if you're too late, which is why I try to go for this most of the time, because it has what's called upper body invincibility, which means it won't get hit by jump-ins. It'll go right through jump-ins. So I think it's really good. And the fact that you can special cancel it on hit too and go for a full combo like this, I think that's really good. So tip number two, I would say, is actually using something a little bit less. It's this button right here. This button, really good. I will say it has a ton of range. You could choose to not do anything afterwards, or you can choose to poke at them again. But the issue with this is it has a ton of whiff recovery. And so against players who will just jump in at you like this. See what I mean? See how much whiff recovery that has? So you want to be careful where you use this and when. If the opponent is jumping a lot, obviously don't use this as much because you will get blown up. This is a huge mistake that I made when I first started playing this game because I come from Guilty Gear and Kai has Far Slash, which has almost no whiff recovery, but like almost the same range. So I just assumed that this button was like that, but it's not the case. So you want to be careful where you put this and when. Just use it a bit less if you're abusing it too much. So the third tip I would say is abuse plus frames. Billy has so many plus frames, it's ridiculous. This is +4 on block if you feint cancel. This move right here is +3 on block. A lot of people don't know this actually, but if you do the second hit of EX Rekka, that's +2 on block. That catches a lot of people off guard. So you want to use these a lot more. This move too, the pull, that's +1 on block. You want to abuse the hell out of this. It's very good because eventually, if they don't know, they will try to press afterwards and you will be able to combo them. So see how I have the dummy to press after I do this? This is +1. You can see on the frame in the corner. It's +1 on block. If they try to press after this and you do a button, it's going to beat it every time. It's going to beat it every time. And if they don't know, that will absolutely destroy them. If they don't know when to press against Billy, if they don't know what's plus and what isn't. Something really good that you should be taking advantage of. Again, put emphasis on this Rekka 2. Being +2 is really good. I would say abuse the hell out of it. It's very, very good. Tip number 4, I would say, is know your combos. This is especially important with Billy because, granted, you give him the right hit, he can just do over 50% on you. He does so much damage for no reason. Say you get a hit like this. That did 400 damage without even using super. I didn't even use super there. That did 400 damage as opposed to something like this. And you just do 30% and you leave so much on the table. So I would say learn your combos, figure out the optimal routes for Billy off of whatever starter that you hit. I think super important with this character, super important for like cashing out on straight hits in general. Dude, I got 420 damage off this button. So you should learn your combos. Tip number 5 is abuse the pull. I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is +1 on block. And part of the reason why this is so good is because the game is still in its early lifespan. So the counterplay to this move is to what you can do is you can just defend it and then guard cancel out of it in order to punish it. But because the game is so early in its lifespan, not a lot of people are doing that. So you can abuse the hell out of this. Just do this over and over and over again until they press. And like as they're, even if they're holding it, you look at the rev gauge. You see how much rev guard they're building? 39, 50, very abusable, very easy. Again, +1 on block, really good move. I would say there's like almost no downside to using it unless they're representing an option that beats it. In that case, don't do it as much, obviously. But I think this move is very abusable because it's so early in the game's lifespan. So I would say use this a lot more. Tip number 6 is do more feint cancels. So if you don't know what a feint cancel is, basically what you can do is you can cancel the startup of special moves into what's called a feint. If I can do it correctly. Which is that. You see that? That's the startup for pull, but it doesn't actually come out. And you do this by doing heavy kick and rev, at least in Billy's case. So why this is so good is because you can cancel the recovery of certain normals early so that you can get more plus frames. Take this for example. This move, initially, that's +0 on block. Even on block, you get no plus frames. But if you feint cancel it, you see how it's +4 now? You can go even further than this. This is a frame trap. If you do this into break, into standing heavy punch, then it's a frame trap. If they try to press after this, they will get blown up. And you can really take advantage of this. See how I have the dummy to press here? See how he just got blown up for that? And that's for just pressing after this. So I would say use break cancels more for pressure, to trick the opponent into thinking you're going to do something when you aren't. I think feint cancels are very good, and I think you should use them more because that's really like a fundamental part of this game is using feint cancels. So I would say use those a lot more. All right, so tip number 7 is to use wave dashing. So Billy doesn't have a run like other characters. He can't run. You can't just hold the dash macro and then run across the screen. He doesn't have that. He has a step dash, but there is wave dashing in this game. If you hold the rev button, right, the dash macro, and then do forward and then down forward over and over again, look what happens. See how he moves really fast like that? See how I'm canceling the recovery to move a lot quicker? This is really good because, say you get like a straight hit like this into a hard knockdown with EX pull, right? Normally, if I dash normally, I'm -10. By the time I get close to the opponent, I'm -10. I can't do any pressure because they can just mash and wake up. But if I wave dash in this exact same situation, see how I'm +2 now? So make sure you're getting the most out of his movement and his Oki. That way you're able to even like approach the opponent and still, even if they get knocked down from that far a distance, you can still get pressure with the wave dash. So I would say use that a lot more. Practice this, especially I still haven't gotten it down yet, but keep practicing this because it's a very useful movement option for Billy. Tip number 8, I would say, is be patient versus zoners. Now you see I have Marco on the screen because he has a really good fireball. He has a slow one, he has a fast one. Now Marco can be really annoying for Billy because he could just sit at the other end of the screen and throw fireballs like this. And then mix up between slow and fast so that when you try to jump over it, sometimes you'll jump into the fireball and then you'll be stuck in the exact same situation but with less health. Very annoying for Billy. And he could just run down the clock too because time is a factor in this game. So really annoying strategy. So how do we beat this? I would say just be patient. He does have this move and it does beat projectiles, but to be honest, I don't think it's that useful. Because even after you absorb a projectile, he doesn't get anything out of this. He doesn't gain space. There's really nothing gained out of doing that. So what I recommend is literally just walking him down. Be patient and make sure you practice just defending projectiles. Because if you just defend in this game, you gain health back, which is a really important aspect in this game. So make sure you just walk him down. Be very patient until you're in sort of this space over here. You can wait for them to jump and then anti-air them. There's a lot of different options, but as long as you're walking them down, being patient, this is a winning interaction because if you're I-being the projectile, you gain health back, right? And you're gaining space by moving forward towards them. So this is a really good strategy if they're trying to lame you out, if they're trying to, just zone you out from full screen, run down the clock. So I would recommend just being patient versus zoners, because the mistake that I see a lot of people make is they try to dash in and then they get hit by a projectile and then they lose health and they lose space too. So just be very patient versus zoning characters. Tip number 9, which is unbelievably important as much as the other tips, but this one especially, is keep track of your opponent's rev gauge. So this is really important because when your opponent reaches 100 rev, they enter what's called overheat, which means they can't use EX specials anymore. They can't guard cancel, they can't just defend. They lose a lot of the defensive options that they would have normally. So this is really good for Billy, especially because Billy, because of the amount of plus frames he has and amount of multi-hit moves, he can put you into overheat so easily. See, I already took away a quarter of your rev gauge from this normal. Now granted, it does cost Billy some resources in order to do so, but in the right situation, where if your opponent is at like 80% rev, you just do this and they're automatically in overheat. Just make sure you're keeping track of their rev gauge and then try to get them as far, try to get them as close to overheat as possible. Is kind of the objective, because Billy has so many plus frames that allows him to keep his turn, and multi-hit moves like this and this that are able to, put up the opponent's rev gauge a lot quicker. So I would say just abuse the fact that Billy can put people in overheat very quickly, and make sure you're keeping track of that rev gauge in order to do so. All right, so the last tip I will say is to use this button more. I do not see enough Billy players using this button. This button is insanely good. It hits unbelievably far. Super plus if you time it correctly. Really good for catching people out of the air. I would equate it to like Kai JS if you play Guilty Gear. Insanely good at just swatting people out of the air. Hokoda Maru players especially like to jump around the screen a lot to try to bait anti-airs. This is really good against them because you could just go in the air, swat them out of the air, and then continue pressure afterwards. Insanely good button. Another good aspect about this is doing it from short hop, because the fact that you can do this button from short hop and it goes that far is insane. It is such a good button, and more people should use it. Obviously, there's way more to the character, but hopefully this helped at least get like a basis for what the character does and some basic tips that help you improve in the game and with Billy.